Once upon a time, deep in the heart of a lush green forest, there lived a little squirrel named Sammy. Sammy wasn't like the other squirrels. While they loved nothing more than hoarding nuts and chattering incessantly, Sammy preferred daydreaming beneath the shade of the oak tree. He would spend hours watching the rabbits hop, the birds fly, and the deer leap, wishing he could do the same. The other squirrels called him Silly Sammy and teased him for wasting his time. "A squirrel with dreams is a squirrel with a broken tail," they would say, chuckling as they ran off to gather food. But Sammy didn't care what they thought. He knew he wasn't like the others, and he was determined to prove them wrong. One day, Sammy was daydreaming under the oak tree when he saw something unusual. A small brown rabbit was stuck inside a hunter's net, desperately trying to free itself. Sammy watched as the rabbit struggled and cried out in fear. Without thinking twice, Sammy dashed down the tree and started chattering loudly, hoping to scare the hunter away. The hunter, startled by the sudden commotion, turned around and saw Sammy bravely standing in front of the trapped rabbit. The man couldn't help but smile at the sight of the tiny squirrel taking on such a big task. He untied the net and apologized for scaring the rabbit. "You are a brave little squirrel," the hunter said, scratching Sammy behind the ears. "Thank you," Sammy replied, his tail twitching with happiness. The rabbit hopped closer and thanked Sammy too. "You've saved my life, little squirrel. How can I ever repay you?" Sammy waved his paw dismissively. "It was no trouble at all. Squirrels are always ready to help those in need," he said proudly. The rabbit beamed at his kindness and disappeared into the bushes. As Sammy made his way back up the oak tree, he couldn't shake off the feeling of accomplishment. Helping others felt much better than just daydreaming, he thought. And then an idea struck him. Why not make daydreaming into something more? Why not use his time to help the animals in the forest? From that day on, Sammy spent his time honing his skills and learning everything he could about the forest and its inhabitants. He observed the birds and learned to fly with paper wings. He studied the fish in the nearby lake and designed fins for himself, though he never quite mastered swimming. He watched the rabbits darting between the trees and practiced jumping over logs and rocks until he became the best jumper among the squirrels. He also befriended the animals he helped, sharing stories and laughter with them. Soon, Sammy was known throughout the forest as Sammy the Squirrel with 1,000 skills. And the other squirrels finally realized that being different wasn't bad. In fact, it made Sammy special. One afternoon, while Sammy was practicing his archery skills with the birds, he heard a panicked cry. It was the little rabbit he had rescued from the hunter's net. "Help! My brother has fallen into the hunter's trap again, and I can't get him out." Sammy didn't hesitate. He dropped his bow and rushed to help. He found the rabbit's brother trapped in a cage and, remembering his own experience, quickly started chewing on the wooden lattice, trying to break it apart. The wood was tough, and Sammy's teeth ached from gnawing. Just when he was about to give up, he heard a familiar voice. "Need some help, Sammy?" It was the hunter. Sammy looked up and nodded, unable to speak because of the wood in his mouth. The hunter smiled and took out a sharp knife. In a few seconds, he had cut open the cage and the trapped rabbit hopped out, safe and sound. Sammy, exhausted but happy, watched them leave and returned to his tree. Later that evening, as the forest animals gathered around the oak tree to share their day's adventures, Sammy recounted his encounter with the hunter and the trapped rabbit. The animals listened attentively, and when Sammy finished, they burst into applause. The rabbit he had saved hopped closer and said, "I'm so glad you were there, Sammy. You and the hunter are true friends. I know I can always count on you." Sammy blushed and looked down. He hadn't thought of himself as a hero. But hearing the appreciation in the rabbit's voice, he couldn't help but feel proud. The deer stepped forward and said, "Sammy, your bravery and kindness have touched all of us. We're truly a hero of this forest." As the other animals echoed the deer's words, Sammy felt a sense of belonging and happiness he had never experienced before. He had gone from being an outcast squirrel who dreamed of being someone important to the most respected squirrel in the forest. And it had all started with a simple act of kindness. From that day on, Sammy continued to use his skills and knowledge to help the other animals, and his reputation as the hero of the forest grew. The other squirrels finally understood that Sammy wasn't silly at all. His dreams and kindness made him extraordinary. Sammy the Squirrel with 1,000 skills became a legend, inspiring every young animal to follow their dreams and be kind to others.